Oh, Canada, Brett Jones' home native land. Damn straight. Big respect to the pride of Regina. Let's go. It's so great. Delicious. Anyways, so the Vikings finally gave the time of day to Brett Jones, the constantly overlooked and underappreciated Vikings offensive lineman. Started on Sunday against the demented Dallas Cowboys in place of Ezra Cleveland, who was out with the ankle injury. And guess what? He balled out. Oh, who would have known? This guy who's super versatile, the veteran. Oh, you put him in line. Oh, he's good. It's weird. So Brett Jones allowed pressure and led the Vikings offensive line in all three PFF grading categories, overall pass blocking as well as run blocking. And on a day when the Vikings offensive line struggled against the Cowboys, who constantly brought pressure and blitzes, that total of 15 pressures, Brett Jones was not the issue. He was absolutely not. Meanwhile, the other guard, left guard, Dakota Dozier, who's been an issue all season, allowed 4 pressures against the Cowboys, leading the Vikings, as well as had the lowest pass blocking grade in the NFL at 27.4. Lowest. The worst, right? And right now, we're saying it. Once Ezra Cleveland gets back from his ankle, Brett Jones needs to start at left guard over Dakota Dozier. The offensive line going forward needs to be Reef, Jones, Bradbury, Ezra, as well as Brian O'Neill. That is it. That is it. If you're really committed to getting the best 5 out there, stop paying lip service to it. Get the best 5 offensive linemen out there. And Dozier, who is a perfectly fine backup utility lineman, but that's what he is, right? And I know that Rick Dennison likes him because he brought him over from the Jets, sure. And Dozier won the starting left guard job in camp over Alvante Collins. It was never a competition. It was a sham. It was a false. It was rigged, right? And Dozier has allowed 19 pressures, 2 sacks, and had 5 penalties so far this season, and is PFF's 76 overall graded guard in the NFL. Because remember, guess what? So 32 teams, 2 guards, 64. He is outside of the starting guard range. Right? And also for frame of reference, Drew Samia is 88th, so less than ideal there. And there needs to be a full-on Senate investigation why Brett Jones was not allowed to compete for that starting left guard spot, or why Pat Elflein was just handed the starting right guard spot this season. It just boggles the mind. It does. And to recap, the hero, by the way, signed the petition, change.org, to change Canada's name to Brett Jonesistan. I think we can get that thing going. But background on our superhero. Brett Jones, 29 years young, 6'2", 315-pound guard / center from the University of Regina. Played in the CFL for 2 years before coming down and signing with the Giants in 2015. And 2017, he won the starting job for center for the Giants and was PFF's 4th highest graded center that season with an 82.1 grade, not too shabby. Eventually lost his job. John Jalapeno coming in. It's whatever. Vikings picked him up at the end of preseason 2018 for a 7th round pick because Pat Elflein's coming off of ankle and shoulder surgeries, wasn't going to be ready to start the season, and the Vikings didn't want to start, I don't know, Danny Isadora or Cornelius Edison. Remember those guys at center? So Brett Jones came in, new team, a week before the season, started the first 3 games, and played well. Played extremely well. Had the 2nd highest pass blocking grade on the Vikings if you remove minimum snaps at 70.3, as well as only allowed 5 pressures, 0 sacks on 188 center pass blocking snaps. So not bad. Not bad, right? But they never considered him to put him back in the lineup when Elflein struggled that year. He was the worst center in all of football, or at either of the guard spots, because Tom Compton, I remember him, terrible, coming straight out of Rosemount. Bad. Mike Remmers was a fine right tackle. He was a terrible right guard. But yeah, hey, so many offensive line struggles. John DiFilippo trying to run 9-step drops. Kirk Cousins back there getting shelled. He couldn't run the ball either. But hey, it's okay. The offensive line is fine. Pat Elflein is the worst center in football, and Compton and Remmers are terrible as well. But hey, Brett Jones, the guy that you traded for, that guy who played well when given an opportunity, screw him. Screw him. And then they brought him back on a minimal deal because they sold him under the premise like, hey, Gary Kubak's coming in, zone scheme, you're perfectly suited for it. Dennison, like everyone is going to get a fresh start here. And then 2019, he balled out. He was PFF's number 1 graded center in 2019 preseason at 90.4. He had a clean sheet with Cerro. 0 pressures allowed, 0 sacks, and 72 pass blocking snaps. And guess what? The Vikings did him dirty. They cut him before camp. They re-signed him. They did the whole thing where it's like, hey, you re-sign here after we cut you, and also so your contract isn't guaranteed for the season. But come on back. Come on back. And Brett Jones, since he's Canadian, he's too polite to tell the Vikings to go jump into a lake, which he should. Right? Cut Brock back. Obviously, he wasn't going to overtake Bradbury at center last year, but also he was never given consideration at left guard, even though Elflein was ass terrible last year. And then this year, like we mentioned, was never in the left guard race, was never in the right guard race either. And then after Elflein went out week 1, then it was Drew Samia time. Even though Samia was terrible, then obviously it was Ezra Cleveland. But I mean, even as Dakota Dozier has underperformed, even as Pat Elflein and Drew Samia underperformed, there was never a talk of Brett Jones. Jones, by the way, was on and off the practice squad. So that's how much they've been thinking about Brett Jones. So that's how much they've been underappreciating and overlooking him for years, for 3 years now. Any Vikings fan with 2 brain cells know that fact that, hey, offensive line is bad. How about Brett Jones? How about the guy who's been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt? Oh, a veteran with versatility. Brett Jones certainly could go Joe Berger, late career Phoenix on the bit. Joe Berger, when he was here at the Vikings, you could really argue was the Vikings' best offensive lineman, and it's not really a stretch. But the Vikings just have never given him the time of day. It's time now. Because he's smart, he's versatile, he's capable on the inside. Garrett Bradbury has called him a coach on the field. He certainly is. He is not going to be the problem if and when he gets out there. Wars have been declared over less. The constant disrespect of the pride of Regina needs to stop right now. End it. Brett Jones, once Ezra Cleveland gets back, needs to move over to that left guard spot, take over for Dakota Dozier, and the Vikings can move on from there. So just solidify that offensive line going forward and finally give him the time of day and the respect that he's due. I mean, my goodness. We're going to go a Roostock war on this bit. Go Google that. But your thoughts. Brett Jones, let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work? Post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.